Often overlooked, Way of the Shadow Monk is still a perfectly viable class in Baldur's Gate 3. This guide will cover a version of the build that will take you through the game from start to finish. The gameplay involves punching. Lots of punching, mixed in with some teleports and other shady actions like hiding. As a level 1 monk, you'll gain Flurry of Blows. This allows you to punch twice as a bonus action, meaning you can use your regular action to punch once, and then follow up with 2 more attacks for a total of 3, even at level 1. Very powerful. You get 4 class features as well. Unarmored Defense allows you to add your Wisdom modifier to your armor class, provided you don't have any armor equipped. Very strong, and you can go unarmored for the entire course of the game with this particular build. Dexterous Attacks allows monk weapons and unarmed attacks to scale with dexterity if it's higher than your strength, so you can just use whichever stat. This guide is going to cover a strength-based build, but just be aware that you could also play a dexterity-based build as well. Deft Strikes, monk weapons and unarmed attacks deal 1 to 4 bludgeoning damage. This will continue to scale with your level. However, early on in the game, you may want to use a weapon in your main hand. Totally up to you and whatever you find to be better for your situation. Bonus Unarmed Strike. After making an attack with a monk weapon or while unarmed, you can make another unarmed attack as a bonus action. Note that you can do this for each of your attacks. For ability scores, we'll go with 17 in Strength, 14 in Con, 16 in Wisdom. We'll use the Tavern Brawler feat at level 4 to boost our Strength to 18, and later on we'll use Ability Improvement to boost this to 20. And you can of course get higher through other methods in the game. Constitution at 14 will give us some additional hit points, which is nice since we will be out in the front lines. Wisdom to 16, this is going to boost our armor class since we'll be unarmored, and this is very important. I actually find that the bonuses to armor class are more important than the additional hit points, so that's why we choose to go this route. What about dexterity? Well, I would recommend using the Gloves of Dexterity because these are available in Act 1, which is very early in the game, and you can get them from the Quartermaster in the Githyanki Kresh. And if we're talking endgame setups, truly endgame, we probably would not be covering Way of the Shadow Monk, so keep that in mind. For skill proficiencies, I'd recommend bumping Athletics and Stealth. We'll be making use of both these, so this would be the best setup that you could have. At level 2, we'll gain Class Feature, just increases our movement speed by 3 meters while you're not wearing armor. Again, just kind of reinforces the fact that we don't want to do that. Top of that, we'll get 3 actions. These are somewhat similar to what the Rogue gets, with one notable difference in Patient Defense. Attack rolls against you have disadvantage, and you have advantage on dexterity saving throws. It is a bonus action and only lasts for 1 turn, so you won't make frequent use of that. In fact, you're almost always better off just dealing damage with that bonus action when possible. Step of the Wind Dash, you can double your movement speed and jump no longer requires a bonus action. This costs a bonus action itself, meaning you can get to a target and then follow up with your regular action to attack. Step of the Wind Disengage, you can retreat to safety by disengaging. Jump no longer requires a bonus action. Just a nice way to remove yourself from the front lines if need be. However, again, a lot of times you'll just be knocking targets out, so you may not need to use this all that much. As a level 3 monk, we'll select the subclass Way of the Shadow. We'll get 1 cantrip, which is Minor Illusion, which certainly sees some use throughout the game. We'll also gain a ton of actions here. We'll get Shadow Arts Hide, Pass Without Trace, Darkness, Dark Vision, and Silence. All of these have some utility for this type of build that we're going for because we want to stay in the shadows as much as possible. At level 4, we'll be able to use a reaction to resist falling damage. And we get a feat. For the feat, I would strongly recommend Tavern Brawler. When you make an unarmed attack using an improvised weapon or throw something, your strength modifier is added twice to the damage and attack rolls. This is the reason that we're going to be going with a strength-based build. And you have the other option, like I said, is a dexterity-based build, in which case I would recommend taking ability improvement to bump your dexterity up further. At level 5, we'll gain extra attack, which essentially doubles the damage that we can deal on most turns. So this is very nice to have, and this class at this point is starting to get pretty powerful, and it will only continue to get more so as you get more levels. You also gain Stunning Strike, whether this is melee or the unarmed version, and on top of that, you get Cloak of Shadows. You can wrap yourself in shadows to become invisible if you are obscured. You'll be able to make frequent use of this, and if you are able to cast this after taking out all the enemies near you, you can then open again. Level 6 Monk will give us more unarmored movement, 4.5 meters, so this class really doesn't have any difficulty with mobility. Key Empowered Strikes, your unarmed attacks count as magical for the purpose of overcoming enemies' resistance and immunity to non-magical damage. This will take you through the rest of the game, so you never have to worry about that. Lastly is Shadow Step at this point. You can teleport from shadow to shadow. Afterwards, you have advantage on your next melee attack roll, just giving you an incredibly high chance to hit. This is a bonus action, so you can Shadow Step and then follow up with the regular action to make your attack and then get your extra attack from level 5. At level 7, you pick up a pair of passives. You'll get Evasion, which allows you to dodge out of the way of certain spells, and on top of that, Stillness of Mind. If you're charmed or frightened, you automatically cast Stillness of Mind to remove the condition. Just very handy tools to have on this character. At level 8, we'll simply get a feat, and I would recommend ability improvement here to boost the strength up to 20 at this point. And again, it may be higher depending on what you've done in your own playthrough at this point. but any higher is just better. At level 9, you have a choice to make, and personally I would suggest either going to level 12 as a monk to pick up another feat through this class, or putting 4 levels into rogue using the thief subclass to get extra bonus actions. Totally up to you, they're both very strong. There are some other options as well. For the sake of this guide, since we're covering the monk class, we're going to go with the pure monk all the way to level 12. This will give us unarmored movement. However, in this form here, it actually allows us to jump an additional 6 meters. Again, just some utility and mobility for this character. Level 10, we'll gain a couple more passives. Unarmored movement has scaled up to 6 meters when not using armor or shield. Again, just furthering our ability to move around. Purity of body, you're immune to poison damage and can't be poisoned or affected by disease. Also handy, although there aren't too many forms of that within the game. Level 11, we'll get Shadow Strike, and this can be used with a melee weapon or unarmed, and this will allow you to teleport to a foe from a hidden position, striking them with psychic damage. And it does considerable damage, but the main advantage of this is just increasing your mobility and being able to teleport in that 9 meter range and continue to deal damage to enemies when otherwise you may not have been able to. At level 12, we'll gain our final feat, and here I like to select Alert. This will give us a +5 bonus to initiative, and you can no longer be surprised. There are some other options here that may work depending on your particular party or character. I'm just a huge fan of having high initiative, and the reason for that is damage scales so much in this game. It allows you to have the capability of taking out 1 or more targets before they ever get to act. You now have a super fun monk build that leaves nothing but satisfaction in its wake, and it just takes enemies out non-stop. For equipment, you can use anything that boosts unarmed attacks to good use, and just be careful to not accidentally equip anything that's light, medium, or heavy armor, as your armor class and mobility will suffer. The monk class in general scales very well with some of the endgame gear available, and it becomes one of the most powerful classes overall. I hope you enjoy the build guide.